kill.
Yeah.
It has to be one of the two supports. Like the Tusk can just snowball, wait out your battery assault. Once the cogs are done, get out. So it's actually going to be C-Deck that's going to apply most of the pressure here. And they can do this because Shiki's had such a good time mid that even if this gank fails, he's still 1k in net worth ahead of the Storm Spirit. So he's got time to maneuver around it. They're almost certainly going to kill YJ here.
Yeah, leading with the Fissure. The burst damage is certainly there. Lets loose the call down, but not even that does a whole lot of damage. And eHome, we're really centered up on this middle lane.
That's a full Oblivion staff completed for the Queen of Pain. CTY is just finished his Soul Ring right now, so he's nowhere near the Queen of Pain and farm. Especially when she picks up the highest, he was the highest net worth value hero on the enemy team. So the Queen of Pain has jumped up to a pretty decent lead. CTY's keeping up though in levels, which is important for a Storm, but when it comes to farm, if he decides to go for the Bloodstone route, he's going to struggle really hard. And aggressive looks like.
Oh dear.
Oh, he actually even steals the rune. CTY's going to be depressed over that one.
Yeah, he just wanted to use his full battle. Aggressiv's now going to make the jump on Alanim. Immediately, there goes the mirror images. Now the hookshot actually managed to snag Q. That should be a free kill. C-Deck are mounting a response within our Ember Spirit, but there's just too many heroes grouped up from eHome. So C-Deck, I feel we're playing very confidently against eHome. Like, they got that pick off in bottom lane. The laning phase in general just seems to be going really well for them. But they maybe just stumbled a bit too aggressively.
Too aggressively.
That was not intended.
Memes, but I think that if you're C-Deck, you're still doing okay. Like, the only people that you know that they can kill for sure are the Lina and the Earthshaker. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, your cores are so unopposed to this game. That's kind of the problem with eHome's lineup is that C-Deck have so much mobility, and this Ember Spear pick actually works out really well because you can dodge pretty much everything. The only thing that you're really going to struggle with is if the Storm decides to go for an Orchid, which he won't because he's already just so far behind the Queen of Pain, right?
Queen of Pain jumping in, trying to fight against Shiki. Has to ball lightning away. Will dodge this Shadow Strike. So at least forces something there. But yeah, 100% no Orchid simply because he's too far behind. So
yeah, he would never get there in time for it to actually matter because the Ember can then just go for a Manta style.
Yeah.
Once he sees that you go for it, you're not going to not have your Oblivion stuff on you. It just adds so much damage. So he sees you going for that. He knows that there's no other hero on the map that can pressure him, so you can get that at a reasonable time, and then your Storm is pretty much useless, because then Queen of Pain can tech to a different item. Like, she can just go for a Yule Scepter.
Okay.
If you go for that. Whereas it's much less efficient for the Storm to go for a Yule Scepter. It just doesn't help him enough. Like, the Queen of Pain can refresh the blink timing and be the most mobile hero on the map using a Yule Scepter, but what does it really do for a Storm Spirit? It's just too defensive of an item. So you go for the Bloodstone, and it's like a lose-lose situation, but at least you can suicide if she goes on you and has to burst everything on you.
Right. Hopefully prevent this Queen of Pain from snowballing a bit too much. Though she's already level 10, and we'll have that second Oblivion staff coming in soon. RTK, they're going to try and blow him up. Nice cogs that pushes back. The Winter's Curse is there to control Aggressive, but TP out. He's going to be pulled in by CTY. Not really worth it there for C-Deck. Once again, they try and get aggressive in the middle lane and try and force some sort of kill or something. And eHome just like immediately showcase, hey, we've got 4+ heroes here.
Yeah, and he had Magic 6 charges at the same time. He had enough HP to survive through that. And, that really wasn't worth it. And that could have gone a lot worse for C-Deck if they weren't careful. Like the Ember Spirit committed every single one of his Fire Remnants to be able to get that kill.
Yeah.
Like, he had zero way out of that. He was out of mana. You can't commit that hard to it, especially when you don't have either of the supports to back you up. Like, maybe if the Earthshaker's there with the Fissure right after, potentially you survive, but the way that went, you were 100% dead.
Drums is being picked up for our Gyrocopter alongside the phase boots. A ton of movement speed for this carry. Very aggressive build is what we're seeing. With this build, do you go into the BKB immediately and just look to dominate the early to mid game?
I think you still go for the SNY.
Okay.
There's... I'm trying to think right now. Actually, if you have drums, probably BKB first is better.
Yeah, I feel like when you go drums, going SNY as well is just maybe too much all-in.
Yeah.
On the early mid game, you have just too many small stat items.
Because what people have to always consider is like SNY and drums together isn't bad at all, but
you also have Ring of Aquila.
Yeah, and you still want to build towards the late game at some point. Like we saw that in the game where was it C-Deck versus EG, I still liked how C-Deck built their heroes. I think the bigger issue there was just that AUI destroyed them and their confidence, but the way that their heroes built, I think, was the correct idea. You don't have to all-in commit to the early game like that. Like, Ring of Aquila is really expensive. It's like 1,000 gold, drums is 1,800, so you spend 2,800 gold on an item that you don't want to keep.
Yeah. C-Deck done with trying to maybe get a pick off in middle and take that tier 1 tower there, are now going to center up at bottom lane instead. They are getting to a point. Ember Spirit has a Ring of Aquila. I don't think he needs to go drums at this point in time. You could probably just go straight for Battle Fury.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that C-Deck are looking really good for the laning phase, can probably just afford to sit back and continue to play a bit of a farm game against eHome.
The only way C-Deck kills Aggressive is if what just happened before happens again.
Right.
Where he uses all 3 Fire Remnants. Like, as long as he has 1 defensive, 1 placed, they would have to Winter's Curse and blow everything on him at the same time. And you can't really do that anymore because the Queen of Pain now has a Orchid.
So the beginning of the Queen of Pain's dominance. Move around, kill Gyro Comp. I mean, she could kill actually anybody she wants to at this point. Like, there's no core that really feels tanky enough to survive. Maybe Gyro. Maybe.
If she has her ult, I think she can kill pretty much anybody. As long as the Gyro doesn't get the Rocket Barrage off first.
So it feels like there would be a lot more incentive for eHome to stay grouped up.
I think so, but at the same time, you realize you can't deal with those heroes. You have to split up and farm and try to get ahead in other ways, right?
Right.
But they're so afraid right now. I think they are aware that the smoke is happening.
Yeah, they did
C-Deck
have a jungle ward.
Yeah, C-Deck want to take this fight, but eHome, this probably isn't a terrible fight for them if they can get in position. A lot of it's going to come down to the positioning of the Winter Wyvern, and if DDC can make really good use of the Cold Embrace and the Winter's Curse. Like, interestingly enough, he's gone for the Max Splinter Blast build, which I think is pretty unique, right? A lot of people value the Arctic Burn very highly.
I think it's about a 50-50 split, especially if you're able to get like the early 2 levels in Arctic Burn, just the slight increase in range. I feel actually makes a very big difference on the Winter Wyvern, ganking very early on.
Yeah.
But I would also say, like, eHome, the Splinter Blast is the best thing to be able to deal with pushes, right? Because it's just so spammable, great damage, very, very long range. So maybe they're a bit afraid that C-Deck are going to try and take advantage of the early net worth lead that they have to push towers, even though they really don't have a net worth lead at all. C-Deck have actually, over the last course of 5 minutes, have actually kind of dropped their 1,500 gold lead.
Gyrocopter farms really quickly.
Yeah.
So does Storm. They're just more efficient farmers than Queen of Pain and Ember Spirit, because the Queen of Pain with this Orchid build, it's not the best farming build. Like, you want to get kills with it as much as you can, and they're not able to do so. And at the same time, CTY's only jungling, and he's actually switching back to the Orchid. I like this. Yeah. He realizes that his team is probably going to have to fight at some point, because they have no other ways to kill CTY without, or CTY has no ways to kill them without an Orchid of his own. Because he rolls in, and then what? You get Orchid or stunned up, and you can't really kill anybody?
Yeah.
Like, you need some lockdown.
At the same time, he's also been able to, like, sit back and farm up enough where he's gotten that chunk of gold where he's like, okay, now I can't go for that. RTK is picked up by Shiki. Quick little kill there with the Orchids. I think that's really the first one that Shiki's managed to get. But in the end, it's still an offlaner. You haven't gotten the important cores on the side of eHome. And YJ is actually about to finish up his BKB. So between the Orchid completing for the Storm Spirit, BKB on the Gyrocopter, and then this maxed out Splinter Blast build, I'm not sure C-Deck can actually force any fight. Like, if they do, it's got to be early. It seems, again, especially with their sit-back, farm-up Battle Fury build on the Ember Spirit and not going for the drums, it just seems like C-Deck really want to play for more of a later mid-game.
I would agree. The Storm's just finished his Orchid, too. And he's actually got a lot of farm now, and he's kind of almost caught up to the Queen of Pain. Like, he's 1k behind, but it's not too big of a difference, because if a Storm initiates on the Queen of Pain, you're guaranteed to kill. Whereas the reverse is true as well, but it's so
much
much
less
easier.
so. Much less so, right?
The storm can blow his combo faster than you can respond and kill you. Like,
because he can jump on you and disable you to start with, right?
Like,
That's
this is what I'm worried about right
part.
now. Like, he's going to find CT or Shiki here, and
Ooh.
oh, man, that might have given a kill.
Still, they have the clockwork. If they really wanted to, they can make a commitment, but they'd be diving into a tier 1 tower.
That was his moment. He was going to go
Yeah.
on that before anybody, because he's like, there's no way that C-Deck know that I have Invis here. And C-Deck don't have any river wards, so they would have been playing blind there. Shiki didn't even do that blink, you know, he wasn't even trying to save it. He was just like, oh, I'm going to blink here to farm, just to get 1 or 2 extra CS, and he had no idea.
3-6 right now, 20 minutes in. We're having quite a slow, passive game at hand. Neither team really finding an opening. Neither team really has a whole lot of pressure, I think, on them to try and make something happen. Like, CDEC had maybe an early advantage that they could have utilized to push down towers, but at the same time, they decided instead to go ahead, sit back, farm more, get the Ember Spirit where he's got Battle Fury and can start getting the Daedalus build coming up. eHome obviously have some very great late game heroes, and they also kind of were behind in the laning phase. So a lot of incentive, I think, for them to sit back and farm. So when CDEC weren't really putting much pressure on them, eHome were like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah,
We've got the faster farming heroes.
You don't force the pace of the game at all. That's
Yeah.
the main thing we've learned. I feel like that's the main lesson I've learned. Is like, if you're behind, don't just be like, I have to force something. We have to go right now. Just play the objectives, slow the game down. People are they tend to make mistakes. So if you let them, you have a clear game plan, then you're fine. When it comes to late game, it's hard to really determine who is the better late game. I think when it comes to offlaners, the clockwork is going to be less useful than the Tusk, but the Lina is definitely going to be less useful than the Winter Wyvern. And the Naga has a lot of potential for the late game, as we've seen before. So both teams are going to feel relatively comfortable right now, but CDEC are definitely in a type of period where they don't want to blow any sort of lead. Because CTY is definitely that type of player that just runs with it.
Yeah. At which point, like game plan wise, what is your critical mass for either team? Like, if we never just see an opening, this continues for the next 20 minutes, and every team just sit backs, and, farms, etc., what for you is really your critical mass for eHome and for CDEC? At what point do they have certain items they should go force the fight?
BKB on Queen of Pain, Battle Fury, Manta maybe on the side of the Ember Spirit.
Okay.
It's going to sound really weird, and I know everybody will disagree with me, but I actually think that the Ember Spirit should just get something defensive like Yules. I think all-in committing for the Battle Fury doesn't do a lot. Like, eHome have the most AoE lineup of AoE lineups. You've got a Gyrocopter, a Storm Spirit, a Winter Wyvern. Like, your Manta is not going to help you that much. Same with the
Well,
Splitter Blast.
you disagree with the Battle Fury first on Ember Spirit?
No, I agree with it, but I think second item, going for something like a Manta style is too big of a commitment, and it's not going to give you enough.
Okay. 3-man smoke up. CDEC are going to find CTY. They'll chain stun him down. Very nicely played. And they're not afraid to pop all the ultimates for it. Walrus Punch, Echo Slam, and a Laguna Blade, all for that little poor Storm Spirit. But then again, we haven't really seen any kills in the last few minutes, so why not pop all the ultimates to ensure a pickoff?
I don't feel bad for him. Storm Pickers deserve this.
His Tier 1 tower's dropping a little bit low. Aggressive brings his double damage rune to the 4. They pop the glyph now, and he jumps away to his Remnant. Just a bit too risky for him. Go, Naga Siren Illusion.
He tried. He almost got the deny off. YJ gets the last hit on it, so they do get the deny, and they managed to gank the Storm, but CDEC, I think the